Hey everybody, David Goss here for a very exciting episode. Friday, we got the World Cup draw. We now know what every single group will look like going into the World Cup, especially for the host countries, but for everyone, we know where the games are going to be, what stadiums are going to be hosting what the matchups look like. It is one of the most exciting days in the 4-year cycle to any World Cup. This show is a special one. We have Eric Krakauer, Claudia Pagan, and Heath Pearce on for us to break down every single group by group. We're going to give you our predictions, our big first thoughts, and what are some of the big storylines to know. This is part of our Kickback 26 rollout. We are going to be doing what we believe is going to be the best coverage of the 2026 World Cup alongside all the other soccer that you have known us to come and talk about. We already have out over 16 episodes about individual countries, quick capsules, 10 to 15 minutes long, talking about each team. We have 42 of them that are going to be launched by December 19th. So please go to Kickback 26, our new podcast feed, to go listen to those shows. We've got some big interviews with starting goalkeeper of Curacao, Eloy Room, in there. We've got some great history, some great stories, some of the biggest young and up-and-coming stars that we were telling you about. So you can go listen to that there. And you're going to get every single group-by-group analysis coming up in just a moment. And we are led in this episode by the one and only Claudia Pagan.
Let's do it. All right. Should we start at the very top?
I think there's no
Run
other way.
through everything. Group A. All right. Let's start off Group A. Mexico, South Africa, Korea, and what is it? One of the spots for the UEFA playoff matches. So we'll kick it off to you. What are you thinking right now with Group A? How is this one shaped out for you?
Well, I think this is really great for Mexico, all things considered. If you look at just the way the draws have played out, I think Eric had a great point earlier in that there's not really a group of death. So I think everybody that's going into this, even some of the smaller nations, have to like their chances of a little bit of gamification within the group of knowing that it's the top two, and then you have your third place teams in terms of their results. But overall, I think South Africa just snuck into this tournament, so I think they're going to be motivated in a lot of ways. Korea come prepared for every World Cup that they're in, but Mexico has to be happy again with that opener against South Africa and the way that they're going to be able to manage that. So overall, I think this is a really fun Group A, not knowing who that fourth team is going to be, but I think it's a really exciting way for Mexico to kick off the tournament against South Africa especially.
Yeah, builds a little bit of anticipation.
Yeah.
How confident are you in this Mexico side? Because I think you guys talked about it. They haven't won in 6 matches. They won 2 big trophies this year, and then just what happened?
I don't really think they know who they are fully.
Yeah.
I think Javier Aguirre wants them to be a little more possession. I don't know that they can. And it's the nature of a national team, which is the 2 most important players, Santi Jimenez and Raul Jimenez, shouldn't play together. So they're trying to figure out how it all fits together going into a World Cup where they don't have enough talent to leave talent out the gate. And obviously Raul Jimenez made the comments out of the last window when they got booed at home. They were chanting Javi out. They were chanting against the goalkeeper. Well, this is why we don't play at home. Well, congratulations. You got a home World Cup. You get 3 games at home and you're complaining about your home fans. It's not exactly an ideal setting for Mexico.
Can I ask this? Mexico playing at home, obviously it's great to play in front of your fans, but if you are Mexico and you are losing, that might be the worst situation that you want to be in, is actually playing at home if you're down.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll find themselves in that situation, to be completely honest.
You're confident in them.
I think there are a couple of things here. I think that and Heath would speak to this a lot better than me, playing in friendlies and playing in a tournament are very different things. And I think that you, in Aguirre, you've got a coach with a lot of experience and a guy who has been known tactically as a very defensive coach. And ultimately, if he can get the defensive cohesiveness side of things done properly, I don't think any of these teams, maybe Korea to a certain degree, but I don't think they're going to be as threatening as you would think. And then the factor that you get to play your first game or you're playing at home, I think that's really, really important. And the fans, as much criticism as there's been in Mexico about this team, of course, this could all change if South Africa scored 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. But I think the fans are going to be behind El Tri from the get-go.
Yeah, I think they're going to give them a chance to start. But we talked about the rematch of the 2010 World Cup, which I think is going to be the big storyline here, especially for South Africa, of like, they got in as hosts. They were the first host to not qualify out of the group stage. They've spent the last 15 years sort of trying to reestablish themselves internationally and prove that they belong to be here. What a better way to do it than against a host. Mexico, I think this is the most interesting stat I found out over the course of this week. Mexico have played the most World Cup games without ever winning a World Cup.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that they think about that, or that stat
Yes.
kind of just doesn't matter and it's just a fun stat for us as commentators to riff off?
I think it goes to the oddity of them, which is they're a constant,
Yes.
but they're not a power.
Constantly
Right?
average.
Yes. I think one of the phrases I use is like blue bloods or blue chip for favorites. And when you go into a World Cup, basically what the proof is that all the big teams are always going to get to the final.
Yeah.
Like new teams don't break through. It took France 65 years. It took Spain 75 years. Portugal might never do it. Like you just never get there. And Mexico, I think, sees themselves as part of the club, and the club doesn't see Mexico as part of them.
Right.
And I think that's where that oddity comes, which is I'd never really put it to name of like, oh, that's why we think they're big, but we don't really have proof of it.
Yeah.
Right. It's also how big the sport is in the country, right? When
Yes.
we think
Yes.
when we think about
It's
some
one
of
of
the
the great
best
soccer cultures.
right? One of the best fan groups in the world. We think Mexico are certainly among them. Never passed the quarterfinal stage at a World Cup, and so they're always looking to break that duck. But I think this is a very favorable group, and you think that Korea right now with Mexico, the two favorites, but Korea get into the World Cup even though they topped their group. They weren't necessarily at playing big teams.
I think we should make everyone make picks for every group. Does that feel right?
For who we think is going to finish first
Every
and second.
group, yeah. Or first, second, third, because we don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Heath, you want to get us started?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with Mexico to win this group. It's a little bit early, obviously, not knowing who the fourth team is in the group, because it could be a little bit of disruption in there. But I
Yep.
think they have the best opportunity to navigate. So I'm going to go with Mexico to get out of the group in first, and then I'm going to say Korea second at this point. I know it's a little premature with some of these groups not knowing exactly who's in, but I really do like Mexico. I know they're under a ton of pressure. But guess what? Playing for Mexico has never not had pressure, right? We see all the external stuff. We see all the chaos, the crazy. We know the comments about playing in Mexico. But you're talking about a core fan base that are in the stadium versus a nation that's behind a team. I think they're going to come to life because it feels like they're hosting this World Cup. So them top, and then I'm going to say Korea going second out of this group.
Second out of this group.
Yeah.
I was going to pick South
By the way,
Africa.
I'm going to sit and wait on a third for a little
For the
bit more
UEFA?
specifics, because I don't want to shoot all my shots really early on and then run out of my third place teams going through.
I'm going to say this because I'm going to do this.
Okay.
We can say third place teams. We don't have to say we think they're going through. It's just what you think the group ends. I'm putting that out there
Just
because
go 1 through 4.
I'm just
Make
going to
everybody
keep
1 through
saying
4.
it, and I'm saying that you can't hold me accountable for anything that I say at any point in this show. And Heath, if you try to, I will come over there and I will break that record behind you.
Look at the smirk
All right,
that he's got already.
Can I just say that the UEFA team will go third in this group? I don't want to just
Yes.
rule out North Macedonia, but I'd like to think that Denmark or Ireland are gonna be
Which,
finished
by the way,
third in this group.
our guy Enda here, who we interviewed, who owns Legends, which we're really grateful to be here and we're having such a great time. I think there was some excitement that Ireland fans were going to roll through New York or one of these cities. Ireland fans in Mexico City, I don't hate it.
I think that's going to be the best blending of fans ever.
Corona their stock just went through the roof.
Corona, and they'll bring some Guinness with them for sure.
I think for some reason, lots of people make connections between Irish people and Latinos, or
There you
maybe
go.
specifically Irish people and Mexican.
And
There's something there.
Irish people are the Latinos of Europe, 100%.
I don't know if that's what the connection. There's
Just
something
in terms
there.
of joie de vivre. Right, there we go.
So the way we think it could set up, Ireland could play in Guadalajara.
Okay.
They could play in Mexico City, and then they could also potentially
love
play in
this.
Atlanta.
I would love this.
Yeah. So it will be a party for the Irish. It will be a Mexican party for the Irish. If they get there, as I said, I think Denmark has a real shot. So I'm going to go next.
Okay.
I'm going to go bold. I'm going to say Denmark first.
You're already saying it's going to be Denmark?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say Mexico second, South Africa third, and Korea fourth. Yeah. That's my prediction for
Wait,
the group.
who's second?
I have Mexico second.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then third.
is
South Africa. You
South
said
Africa,
Korea
yeah.
4.
Yeah, listen, Keon's here. He's intimidated me a lot. But this is a South African team that's one of the best defensive teams in Africa. We saw it at the last AFCON. And I have a list of teams that I say I like them at the World Cup because they will play the style they already play, even against teams that are better than them, where South Africa, Tunisia, if they play a team maybe considered smaller in Africa, they still play deep and counter.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be uncomfortable in that when they get to a moment like a World Cup. And we've all heard the jeers if Mexico can't score after 35, 45 minutes. I think South Africa can maintain that. I think they can get some results, and I think they can sneak into a third place group. And I don't love the way South Korea has progressed over the last year with their losses in friendlies and trying to find themselves on the fly. So I'm going bold here, and as I said, Heath cannot hold me to a single thing I say.
I think I go the same way. Whoever the UEFA team is, Mexico, South Africa, South Korea.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to go
Guys,
with.
you're just picking a team that's three matches.
How bold is that? How bold is that?
Exactly. That's exactly
Which
my
I
point.
love.
I think there are going to be fairly low-scoring games, and I feel like there's going to be a good amount of draws.
Yeah, there's not a lot between these teams.
Yeah, I don't think there's much. What are you going with?
Yeah, I just, I think Heath makes the most important point. We don't know which UEFA team is going to come out in this group. And so that being the case, you're confident that Denmark can get through? I don't know. They've stumbled in qualifiers, so I'm going to agree with Heath. I think Mexico number 1, Korea second, and whoever the UEFA team is in third. Could be North Macedonia for all we know. You know, they did beat Italy in a qualifier.
All right, we are back. You're catching me.
That's on me. That's my fault.
I'm trying to. Come on, you're supposed to let me know.
I'll take the mea culpa. I will take the mea
Welcome
culpa.
away from the
I will take the mea culpa.
Come on.
Listen, it's in
Come
honor of your
on.
daughter, Eric. Don't.
Yes, of course.
Disrespectful. His daughter's name is Stella.
Really? Oh.
Yes.
All right. Well, we were just trying to figure out where we're going with this. Okay, so we are looking now at Group B, which is Canada. The other UEFA nation.
Which we have as Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Okay, and then Qatar and Switzerland. So, initial thoughts, just understand that Canada, this is their 3rd time making the World Cup. They have yet to win a game in the World Cup. They have yet to win.
I feel like Switzerland have been overlooked in a lot of tournaments recently. Getting to the round of 16, getting to a quarterfinal by beating France, who were at the time World Cup champions. I think that potentially Switzerland could top this group. I think they could really impress. Canada. Canada has a great opportunity to finish second, so I'm going to say they finish second. Italy. So who do we say? We got Italy.
It could be Italy,
Czech
Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the potential for an Italy, Canada in Toronto opening game is still on the board.
You know, even if Italy is in this group, I think Italy, let's say Italy go through, finish 3rd in this group. They're just not very good.
Yeah.
And then Qatar finish last.
So there is my only line that I stick to in international soccer. Switzerland are my least favorite team in the world.
Why?
Because I've been to 2 Swiss World Cup games, they're the most boring fans, most boring team. And the only truism for them is they play up to their opponents and down to their opponents. Because they don't have a style.
Yeah.
So you're right, Eric, which is they're underrated because when they've gone into big games against a France or a Spain, they've stayed toe-to-toe. But then they drop down, and this is a group where it's a drop-down.
And they got demolished by Norway. Let's not forget about that. I mean,
and I think
home,
that's
at the San Siro.
Yeah, I think that's perception stuff for them. So I look at a Switzerland playing a Canada, and if you want to say Canada's not of the same quality, I think they play down to what Canada is. I think they play down to a Qatar, down to whoever the other UEFA team is. So if I'm Canada, I like having them in this group because they're not going to dictate the game to me. I'm going to get to dictate the game to them, and that's what Canada wants. So I like this group for the hosts, and I think outside of Qatar, anyone will have a shot of getting out of it.
Yeah. Heath, what are you thinking? How do you feel about this Group B with Canada?
Again, I think when the first 2 names came out with Switzerland and Qatar, you have to like your odds. I do think that there is a variable in Italy in just the representation of the Azzurri. They're going to show up in a different way that I think whether or not it's Canada's group to lose, I'm not really sure. I think if this was Canada 2022, very, very different than now. They're battle-hardened. There's a belief, they're kind of that confidence has grown over the years under Jesse Marsch, as well as what they think they can do in the World Cup. So I like Canada's chances. I think that they like what they're looking at. I think Italy will take points. I think Italy will be, if it is Italy.
Ooh, now he's the one who's deciding.
Will be a variable where they will take some points and cause a little bit of chaos and disruption within this group. That I still think it's probably Canada, Switzerland that get out of this group, but there is that sort of curveball in the fact of whoever this UEFA team is, I think can disrupt some things that could push either Switzerland or Canada into that third spot. But as of now, just to give my kind of group predictions, I've got Switzerland finishing second behind Canada, especially Canada being home. That Italy Canada thing could be something special, but that's what I'm going to go with in that one.
Your thoughts on this Canadian team who could be getting Alphonso Davies as soon as this weekend, going for Bayern.
Yeah.
Hasn't played since March with an ACL injury, so they could have him for next year.
It's going to be awesome. That game's going to be electric.
Yeah.
They're expanding BMO Field. The way it was when they qualified for 2022 against Jamaica at home was one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen. The Ice Teca in Edmonton, all that stuff's going to be on the highest level. As you said, if you're a Canadian, you're watching Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David and all of them every single week. I think Canada will have confidence in this group to the point we keep making. For anyone who doesn't know, the Italian population in Toronto is one of the biggest in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why Sebastian Giovinco and Bernardeschi and Insigne went there. That's why they spent the money. So it is a huge little Italy there.
Yeah.
So there'll be support on both sides in a way. But I just think this Canada team is ready for this moment and ready to take this on. And I think having a Qatar in your group, which, let's just be real, that's 3 points.
Yeah.
They were the worst defensive team in Asian qualifying, and they are not good enough offensively to overcome that at a World Cup.
Just because you said that, things are really going to be chaotic here.
I'm sorry, Canadians.
Can I just add a little ingredient to this? I don't think Qatar or whoever the UEFA nation is, or Switzerland, have played a team that will have the approach that Canada does.
Right.
Canada is going to scare teams because of their pressing, how combative they are under Jesse Marsch. And I think that's why I think they'll do well in this group. But also very quickly, we're talking about Italy, and that it seems like this is a fairy tale setting for Italy. But I don't rate Bosnia because every time they get to a playoff, they lose. Northern Ireland and Wales could surprise. They really could. And Wales is a pretty good team that underperforms.
So let me throw out one thing about Switzerland, which is they're obviously Granit Xhaka and Freuler, their strength in central midfield. To what he said about Canada, Canada doesn't want to play through. Canada's going to play over you, and then they're going to press you. So I think all of Canada's strengths, I think Eric said it well, fit against these teams. So I'll go first on predictions here. I'm going to say Canada first. Or did someone already predict?
Yeah.
He gave his thoughts and the prediction. He answered all my questions.
Clearly you weren't listening to me.
Are you still with us?
Yeah.
Hey,
Heath gave us predictions.
The last thing I would say on Canada, by the way, is the way that they play is usually where they are in the game. And what I worry about the way that they play is if they go down a goal early and the nerves and the hosting and all that stuff can really shift the dynamic of how they have to play and open up a little bit, that as long as they're controlling matches, I like their odds at the top of this group.
I guess I'm the last one.
We're the last ones. I haven't given it. I think Canada. I want to go before you. Canada. I'm going to go the UEFA team. Switzerland, Qatar.
I'm going to switch the middle two, but I'm the same. I think Canada in first.
Yep.
And I'm very excited for my Canadian friends who have tickets. Especially, I have a few who worked and are TFC season ticket holders who have been trying to get the Italians to come to their games and now don't want them to show up. I think Canada first. I think Switzerland second. I think the UEFA team third. And then I'm going to put Qatar in fourth.
Yeah, I think those are solid predictions. Those are our thoughts for the Group B pot. Well, let's dig into our Group C pot next. Here we have Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Any pot with Morocco? I think Morocco is the one that I would fear most over Brazil, considering how qualifying has went with Brazil. So Morocco is the one that scares me the most here. But Heath, what are your thoughts, first of all, for this Group C?
Yeah, I think Morocco are incredible. And they've proven themselves not just at the World Cup level, but the way that they qualified, only conceding a couple goals, like plus 20 goal difference. They cruised through that. And again, yes, there wasn't the strongest of opponents in the way that it was set up for this campaign, but they've consistently done it. You see it now through the youth infrastructure, the U20s winning the World Cup. Just so many things about them. I think just ooze confidence in their ability to compete with the rest of the world, their style of play. Add that to the fight and the grit that the team's capable of, that pride of wearing the crest. I think you have to put them even above Brazil, who I think have struggled overall. Brazil's always Brazil, but they just don't have that level of fear that I think they used to have in the past. And then, honestly, for me, the more of the focus is on Scotland having a belief that this actually gives them an opportunity if they can maybe grind something out somewhere along the way or play really pragmatic and smart and disciplined, that they could get enough points to sneak out of this in a third place position. And so when I'm looking at this group overall, I think Brazil and Morocco are going to handle themselves in a way that they'll cruise through. Where they finish first or second could be either one. I like Morocco probably at that first place position. But if you're Scotland, knowing that you've got Haiti, knowing that you could maybe get some points off the others, there could be an opportunity to get out of this group in that third position.
Yeah, it's interesting how when we look at this, I mean, Brazil is still a team that
They're Brazil.
They're Brazil.
Yeah.
They're always going to be a tough team, but it's Morocco who's kind of replaced them in my mind for that fear factor. They did so well in 2022. They won the U20 World Cup just now.
They
so
win everything.
They're investing
Yeah.
a lot, and it's incredible the growth that we've been able to see from them and how much momentum that could carry into next year's World Cup.
And they're going to be hosting the next World Cup, so they know what's on stage and what they did in the last one. I think, to your point, there are 12 teams in Pot 1, and Morocco are 11th ranked in the world. So they should have been a Pot 1 team. So you've got two teams that should have been there at the top of this group, and I think it's fair to choose their form, although Eric has mentioned AFCON could be great for them, or it could be a wrench that gets thrown in if it doesn't go the way they'd like at home, as you said, over the next month or so. So that's out there, but I think I'm higher on this Brazil team than most people. I think it's because I, like cheese bread and whatever else, and so
Cheese bread is great.
I'm easily sucked in by things, and I think
Pão
Heath's
de
point-
queijo.
Exactly. I wasn't going to say it on a stage with you because I was like, it's a Portuguese name. that I
but
pronounced
with the
poorly.
Brazilian accent. Pão de queijo.
Yeah.
Eric
Yeah, we all
knows that what we
noticed.
say to the Brazilians, Goss, is fala português verdade, We speak real Portuguese in Portugal.
He spent a month there for the World Cup, and what'd you come away with? Just that? And Obrigado?
Yeah, just that. No. Eu falo português.
And so I think the Scotland point you made, though, Heath, is interesting, which is it's an opening for them. As we said, 3 points could be enough to get through as a third-place team. And there's an opening here for a Scotland team that, reminder, lost 5-1 to Germany at the Euro opener. Like, they have not performed well against big teams, but they are the oldest team out of Europe as an average age for a starting lineup. They've been here a little bit now, and it really just comes down to the biggest matchup of this group is Haiti against Scotland.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I just jumping off that last point you made, I completely agree. That's going to be the big game, and of course Haiti are the enigma, right? If you're talking about the names for Haiti, Johnny Placide in goal is the big name.
Yeah.
Then you have Pierrot, who plays in Greece in the Super League with
and went to Northeastern University. Go Dogs!
Oh, there you go. There you go. He knows everything. This guy, encyclopedia. So I feel like they're an enigma, but a few years ago I asked Patrick Vieira. What was the
Name dropping again?
No, it's always going to stick with me.
Take a shot every time you drop a name.
It's always going to stick with me because I asked him, what's the one quality in a player that you think is the most important in knowing that a player is going to go far? He said adversity. No team has faced more adversity than this Haitian national team. So they're going to go into this World Cup with their tails up and feeling like they can do something. They could surprise somebody. So watch out for them. But that being said, I also agree.
Can I throw into that? Where we think these games will happen is in Boston, in New Jersey, in Philadelphia, and then potentially in Atlanta or Miami.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty big Haitian populations that are going to be ready to party.
Yeah.
By the way, I am in no way saying that they're going to finish in the top 2, but don't be surprised if they're third and it's Scotland who fizzle out.
Yeah.
Maybe they've reached their heights by beating out Denmark in their group with that huge game at Hampden Park with a bicycle kick, a goal from midfield. I feel like they shot all their shots in that game, and they're happy to be at the party. And they tend to fizzle out on tournaments. They got destroyed in the Euro against Germany. Morocco, and this is going back to the point that you made, is in a group of Brazil, and yet you said, Claudia, and I think you're right, that they're the team to fear here. And there are a couple of factors. They haven't lost since 2024 in the AFCON.
That's a good thing.
In Regragui, who came in just before the 2022 World Cup, he turned this team from a team of individuals, which it's been historically. I'm thinking of the days of Nurundi Naibet and Mustafa Hadji, two players that I absolutely loved, who were stars in a team that didn't seem to have any cohesiveness. Now this is a team of stars and with cohesiveness. So I think that Morocco tops this group with Brazil in second place, and I'm going to say Haiti, I think, are going to finish third. They're going to surprise the world by beating Scotland and tripping up one of the big boys.
So you're going Morocco, Brazil, Haiti, Scotland?
Yeah.
All right, that's what I'm going with. Did you give your prediction?
I'm going to go exactly the same. I will say this. I think Brazil will make it to the semifinal of the World Cup. This is not I think they're going to struggle, but I do understand that I think they might drop points here or there. Also, let me throw out, and I'm not going to give credit, but the reason FIFA did what they did with the schedule is that opening game is Brazil-Morocco. It could be in Boston or New York. Let's be real, it's going to be in New York, even though there's a huge Brazilian population up there. And that's why FIFA wanted to say, we'll get back to you in 24 hours. But just call us back.
By the way, we are in danger of ignoring a second act hangover from Morocco, by the way.
Yes, that's what I was going to say with, as you talked about the energy that happened in 2022, late appointment of manager. Everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Huge fan base. And I think the Morocco fans will travel again and they'll be big. Yeah. If it doesn't, there felt like there was something magical there.
Yeah.
Similar to Ivory Coast at the last AFCON. If that goes away, I think
and
we're in danger.
one more point, and this one is tactical. Morocco in the World Cup in 2022 were a very transitional team, right? They sat deep. That's how they beat Spain. That's how they beat Portugal. And then hit in transition, had a couple of opportunities and capitalized on them. When it comes to this team right now, this is a much more possession-based team. Mm-hmm. How does that factor into things?
Yeah.
So something to keep an eye on.
Hey,
Yeah, we got
last point I wanted to make, Claudia, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there was, I think there's been a couple now, but there's a match for peace that took place where the Brazilian national team went to Haiti some time ago for
I think
a
it was around
fundraiser for the
2004,
country.
2005.
And if you were to ask most Haitians before they qualified for the World Cup who their favorite national team was, they'd likely not say Haiti. They would say the Brazilian national team. So there's some added dynamics there that for the large bulk of the Haitian population, their favorite national team is Brazil because of what Brazil's done for that country historically on a footballing level. That's just going to add some really fun dynamics when they play each other.
100%.
Thanks for adding that in, Heath. All right, well, we were speaking about Morocco being, to me, the scariest one here, but still so much credit to give to this Brazilian side. All right, let's move on to Group D, a huge one here because it does include the USA, also Paraguay, Australia, and another one of those countries that will qualify through the playoffs in UEFA. So who will that be?
Which will be Turkey, Romania, Kosovo, or Slovakia.
That's pretty favorable.
Yeah.
Would we say?
Yeah.
All right, Heath, what are you thinking? Let's come to you first.
Again, I think the U.S., just seeing the first two names come out for the U.S., I think it's just a favorable draw. And I feel like we're saying that for Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. just because we've experienced Ghana in our groups or having to face a Ghana. We've experienced difficult draws in the past with Germany or 2006 in Germany as well. And so I like the U.S. in this one. I think it's great that the U.S. just faced off against Paraguay to have a little bit of a measuring test as to how they can get a result. I think the main thing that the U.S. is looking at is just hoping to avoid Turkey in this one, or Turkey as it's called now. I think that's the main risk for them. Everywhere else, I think they can manage the match, but you have to love the Australia matchup. They're not going to come and be a walkover by any means, but based on the personnel of the U.S., the confidence, the fact that we're hosting, all of those types of things, I really like the U.S.'s odds of not just doing well in this group, but winning it. And there could still be a UEFA team that finish decent in this group, but Paraguay have to like their chances as well at this point.
Heath, would you have, I've heard different reviews on people maybe would have wanted an easier group for the U.S., maybe people would have wanted them to be a bit more tested and get harder nations. What did you want? What did you want coming into this?
I think it's tough to say. There is a World Cup that's about to take place that nobody knows what it's going to be, right? We're only used to foreign World Cups, World Cup qualifying, these matches where we complain about having to play CONCACAF because it doesn't prep us for this. We've played against some big nations. We have some coming up. That would be a good measuring stick, but they're still friendlies in a lot of ways. And so I think the World Cup, regardless of who you play against, no one's going to be a big gap between the two teams that I think it will, one, test the U.S. I think it'll show a few naiveties in the first couple of games of areas that we have to clean up if we actually do want to go on a deep run. And then it'll also be a good measuring stick as to how prepared are we for group play. I think group play is very, very different than how you handle any other type of knockout type of competition or the way in which we've navigated Gold Cups or Nations Leagues in the past. How we get out of that first result, I think, is going to dictate how and where we put out the right type of team, more defensive, more offensive. But I really like this as a test. There's going to be some real challenges within all of this, and it's going to poke some holes in maybe the game plans that we have right now.
And I think the game plan is interesting because what I talked about with you before the draw happened was I don't know that the U.S. is a dominant with the ball team. Mm-hmm. And I think what Mauricio Pochettino's done that's worked so well is the pressing, the intensity, the aggression, all of that. But we saw the fight against Paraguay. Like, we saw the literal brawl, but also...
And a fight against Australia, too.
Yeah. But both those teams, while the U.S. won, were hard because they don't care. Mm-hmm. They're not going to come out and play. Paraguay's not going to get pulled out of their game. They're not going to come out and approach you. So the responsibility, which I thought had gone off the U.S.'s shoulders, has shifted back now to you're going to have to dictate the style of game. You're going to have to go and create chances. But the confidence of literally just having beat the two teams is as good as it gets. And so for the U.S., as I've said, I think it's as good. I mean, I guess technically I thought Cape Verde was in here, and I thought it was a better draw.
Celebrating
so I don't want to say it's as good a draw as you could have gotten, but this is an ideal scenario. These are none of these teams are giants.
Eric?
No, you know what? I think if the U.S. goes into this group overconfident, they're in big trouble. 100%. And one of the points that you've just brought up, I think, is really crucial. The United States doesn't seem to be the best team in possession. And they're playing against teams that are going to sit back. In fact, one of the criticisms that's been leveled at Australia under Tony Popovich is that the team is too rugged and defensive, and they had been evolving over the past, 10 years into a more attack-minded team. I mean, at one point, Ange Postecoglou was their head coach, okay? And so
now they start five center backs.
Right, so there's this prevailing belief that Australia is actually regressing in the way that they play. I think it's important because they don't really have superstars, right? Mm-hmm. Jackson Irvine, who plays for St. Pauli, is probably their most notable player right now.
And then the center backs.
Yeah, and they basically Deganek, who played for Columbus, and this is a team that is going to defend deep. Paraguay was one of the best defensive teams in the qualifying group. Gustavo Alfaro is a coach with a lot of experience. He was, in fact, in charge of Ecuador for a while. He was with Boca Juniors. I actually think that Paraguay is going to top this group because they can hit you in transition and make it hard. One of the guys that we haven't talked about is Gomez, who's now with Brighton, who is with Inter Miami, super player. And Ciso, another super player. But everything is about their defensive line. So for me, Paraguay tops this group. I think there are going to be some wobbles with this U.S. team that are going to make everybody nervous. I think they'll edge past Australia. And luckily for them, when you look at the European teams in this group, remind me off the top of your head.
Turkey, Romania.
And Slovakia. I think so. Slovakia, Kosovo's tough. Slovakia's tough. Slovakia was just edged out against Germany in the group stage. Very defensive team again. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the U.S. is, even though it's a favorable group, the U.S. is going to have more trouble than they anticipate. I'm still having them finish second, and I think whoever comes out of Europe is finishing third because Australia is not that great.
Can I just go for only this one group? I'm not going to do this for every group. Just third dimension chess here for a second.
Woo!
The winner of this group will play a third place team, so we have no idea what that team looks like. The runner-up of this group will play the runner-up of Group G. That's Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand. Mm-hmm. That is a secondary piece of this for all these countries. That's a good draw. Yep. And both those games are in Texas. So you're going to know, if you advance, you know where you're going somewhat. And whatever the third place is, it is. And if not, that's not a bad matchup to have. So we're not going to do that all the time because the whole thing's chaos. But that's that extra element in here, which is this was a pretty good day for USA.
I know we want to move quickly. I'll just say this.
But I'm going to say this. I'm going to go a 20-minute rant.
Can you imagine living with me? With my kids. Enough, Dad. I was just going to say one of the dangers of calling a group of life like I did is going into it overconfident and underestimating your opponents. And I think every one of these teams might underestimate their opponent.
Yeah. All right, quick predictions. I'm going just the way it's written out. USA, Paraguay, Australia, and whoever comes in from UEFA. Quick prediction.
Paraguay, USA, European team, Australia.
I'm going to go the same as Eric. So
Same
I'll
as
swap
Eric?
those bottom two, but I agree that Paraguay gets out as a runner-up.
Heath?
I'm just swapping Australia for the Euro team coming in at that third position.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our Group D chit-chat there. Let's move on to Group E now. Group E has Germany. It has who do we have? Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. So this is a good one. What are your thoughts? Initial thoughts here?
To me, when it first came out, I thought it was going to be the group of death when Ivory Coast got pulled because I have Ivory Coast as one of my main dark horses. I think they have the formula that we talked about earlier on that a Croatia and Morocco has shown, which is star power attackers, but the platform for them to play off of. And then I look at a group where I think Germany is one of the weaker pot one teams that you could possibly get. And I just think it's open for everyone. Curacao comes in. They're a huge unknown. But this is a Curacao group that will probably get better because there's a chance they recruit more players on the way to the World Cup. And the group they have is really cohesive and has a ton of belief. And they all play in the Netherlands. So playing in Germany is less uncomfortable for them because most players have played in European competition against a side like that. So this is one of those groups that I think could go a lot of different ways. I think Curacao will struggle to get results out of it, but I still think they'll be really excited for what this looks like.
Definitely very excited for them just to be in the World Cup. Heath, what's your prediction for this one? How do you think it's going to stand after the group stage?
Well, again, with Giants, Germany coming in the pot one, I agree with Goss that they're one of the weaker of the pot one teams, but they're still Germany, and they're still looking at a huge opportunity to cruise pretty comfortably, I think, through this group. Ecuador, I think, is the wild card. If you look at their qualifying, very tough to break down, very defensive team. What that means is they generally can play not to lose. When you get into a group, everything changes, right? You win your first game, what do you do in your second? And if all you have is the defensive side, because they don't score a ton of goals, it starts to change the dynamic a little bit. And so I'm worried for them in a World Cup type of setting and group type setting where it's about qualifying for the next round and how they handle those first couple of matches. And then Ivory Coast, I think, are a little bit of the wild card for me in this one, where they have a lot of strength, they have a lot of quality players. And then Curacao, I just saw an odds thing, plus 200,000 to win the World Cup, guys. So get your bets in now. And I think that they'll be a fun one and entertaining and surprise a few people, but not really competing in the way that I think is going to disrupt this group all that much. I think all three other teams will look at that as a 3-point must.
Your financial planning from Heath Pearce.
One of the things that I said
stand out?
at the top of the show about Germany, or at least when the groups are getting put together, was that Julian Nagelsmann is more of a club coach than he is a national team coach, but one of the great benefits of playing in a tournament is you got a week or 2 weeks of camp, and that makes a huge difference. And ultimately, this German side have a lot of quality. They've also figured out something that had been hampering them. They have in Nick Voltemada, they have found a goal scorer.
He's so good.
He hadn't scored many headers in his career before going to Newcastle. He's found that side of his game. He's good with the hold-up play. So I think all that is going to come together. Germany's going to top this group, I think, rather easily. I agree with Heath at Ecuador. For all their solidity defensively, with guys like Moises Caicedo and Hincapié, they still lack a little bit in the attacking side of things. They're still very reliant on Ener Valencia, and if he doesn't score, they'll be in trouble. I still think they'll finish second, though. Ivory Coast just managed to edge out Gabon in their group. They've got good players, not enough difference makers for me, but they finished third and Curacao last.
Yeah. Germany, I'm going to take them first. Since winning in 2014, they haven't made it out of the group stage, but I am confident for them to finish first in this one. I'm going to go Ecuador, then Ivory Coast, then Curacao.
I'm going to go safe here. I think for me, Germany are super reliant on Jamal Musiala, who we don't know what he'll look like coming back from injury, and Florian Wirtz, whose form has been poor, and all of the issues that you talked about over the last 10 years. So in my mind, I think that this is Ivory Coast and Ecuador's group to win. In saying that, I think Germany having Curacao in the first matchup helps.
Yeah.
But also, they got to come out strong because that's 3 points you absolutely need. I think this Ecuador team is a dark horse because they don't concede goals. They know who they are. They're super cohesive. They all grew up playing in the same club, basically. They're a South American Portugal at this point. So I'm going to go Ecuador in first, Ivory Coast in second, Germany in third, and Curacao in fourth.
Wow. Yeah. All right. let's continue on with our groups. We're going to move on to Group F, which is the Netherlands, Japan, Tunisia, and then it will also be a UEFA playoff team, which could be Sweden, Poland, Ukraine, Albania. So, Goss, I'll kick it off with you here. Initial thoughts?
I love this Japan team right now. I love the form they're in. They just beat Brazil 3-2. They came to the U.S. and played toe-to-toe with a number of World Cup teams. They have belief in what they're building. They're cohesive. They're confident. And they came out of a World Cup where they knocked off Germany in the opening game. So in my mind, I think that this Japanese team is favorites in this group. Netherlands are interesting. Similar to Switzerland, I think they play up and down a little bit without Xavi Simons really taking over. They don't have a true player who dominates the game, and so they'll still be wondering, but they're a tournament favorite every time they get in it. And then you've got a team in Tunisia who will never beat themselves, so you have to go and get the game from them, and that's what we saw at the last World Cup, and I think we're about to see it at the AFCON again. So while I don't think there's the star power, I think we're looking at some really tight games in this group, but I think Japan will be happy with the draw they got.
How do you think this will end at the end of the group stage?
The Netherlands cruised through their group stage, but I think there are some questions about what they do up front and whether they're creating enough, which is crazy to say because they scored a boatload of goals in the group stage. Japan have a ton of talent. They're a high-tempo team. I think they can disturb everybody, but they've never really put it together in a World Cup in a way that is meaningful. So Netherlands first, Japan, Tunisia defensively solid. Most players play in Tunisian clubs, but I think they could finish third, and the UEFA club that comes out of here could finish fourth, depending on who that is.
Yeah.
All right, Heath, what are you thinking? How do you think they'll finish, those four?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say. Netherlands, I think, are good. Defensively, they're super sound right now. Japan are my favorite in this group again, as the things Goss mentioned. I like the tempo of this team. I like their belief. I like the cohesiveness in the way that they play. For me, where it all comes together is who that team from Path B is. Poland is a team that the Netherlands barely inched out in that group play, even though both of the teams had really strong campaigns. Poland find themselves having to qualify through. We saw that Sweden really struggled in World Cup qualifying, but obviously got their pathway in a different fashion. And so I think Ukraine, Poland, Albania, Sweden can all be teams that can compete within this group, or have to if they get in this group, that there could be some ability to mix things up and cause a little bit of chaos. But for now, I would say Japan finishing first and Netherlands finishing second, with that UEFA team finishing third, depending on maybe one or two of those teams in that group.
Opening game in this group, by the way, is Netherlands versus Japan. So it seems like what we're all saying is that's the big game.
That's going to be a huge one. All right, so I agree with Heath. That's how I think this one will finish out. Did you give your prediction?
Yes, I did. I think I did Japan first, Netherlands, and then the UEFA team, and then Tunisia.
All
They
right.
want to put Tunisia third.
Oh, you know what? No, I put Tunisia third.
Yeah.
I don't want Eric to be the
I
only
think
one.
Ukraine or Poland come out of this group, but I'm giving credit to
The Carthage
Tunisia.
Eagles, come on.
The Carthage Eagles, yes.
This could definitely be one where the third team
Yes.
gets out of this one.
On 3 points, for sure.
All right, moving on to Group G, we have Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand in this one. Heath, how do you like the way that this Group G shaped out?
Well, Belgium I'm not super familiar with over the last sort of 12 months of where they're at. Obviously, we know Belgium as a strong national team and what they're capable of at a World Cup level. We know that it's been a golden generation for 16 years now. Eventually, those generations are over. And so I wonder how far that they can go. When I look at them or the Netherlands, they come in as favorites, but I don't see them as an actual World Cup favorite. Egypt, again, they're a team that's going to be well organized. They're going to be well prepared. They're going to come into this with a belief that they can compete with anybody in this competition. New Zealand, I think, is a click below anybody else within this group. Iran has struggled at the World Cup level when they do qualify. So this could be a huge moment for them to step up, but I'm not sure that they have the quality and depth to really compete. So I see really two tiers within this group. It's Belgium and Egypt that are light years ahead of Iran and New Zealand in terms of their ability to not just do well in this group, but to go on later into this tournament. So I'd probably keep this structure the way that it's laid out now and how we're looking at it.
Yeah, Belgium, one of the bigger storylines here is that they also kind of like have this aging golden generation. Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, who people are wondering with his hamstring injury, how fit will he be for the World Cup? Thibaut Courtois here, but he's obviously he's doing very well
Yes.
in the net. What are you thinking? What's your prediction for
So
this?
I will say this. I think this is probably the worst group overall, I think, in the draw. And I think for Egypt, it's a dream situation because they are a team that thought that they had a shot to get out, and this really sets the stage for you. So I like Jeremy Doku and what he can be for that group of that injection of a little bit more creativity and quality on top of the base that's already been built. I think this Egypt team has found a way with younger players to platform Salah. So I have Belgium going first, Egypt second, and as Heath said, this is an Iran team that struggled at the World Cup, and we're not going to have enough time to go into boycotting the draw, being having a friendly in Canada canceled, like all these things. So now you look at all of that going on around Iran. They were supposed to play in Vancouver 4 years ago in a World Cup warm-up that they canceled the week of the game because Canadian citizens were so upset about the idea of Iran playing, and they might play their opener in Vancouver. So I think it's going to be a tough World Cup for them, and New Zealand are out of their depths at this level.
I'm going the same way.
I think Belgium are by far the favorites. Rudy Garcia is a good attacking coach, not necessarily a national team coach. So but he's done well so far in the group stages. For the first time ever, Egypt has had an easy qualification period to get to this point. They've never won a game in the World Cup.
Yeah.
You got to take that into consideration. Mo Salah, very dependent on Mo Salah, on guys like Trezeguet in midfield. As for Iran, so I think Egypt finishes second. As for Iran, excuse me, I'm trying to get through these quickly.
Hurry.
A lot of complaints about Iran under Carlos Queiroz being too defensive, especially in tournaments. The complaints now are that they're even more defensive.
it got worse.
So I don't expect much from them. So Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and then New Zealand.
For Egypt, I'm curious to see how Mo Salah does in the upcoming AFCON because with him, Liverpool being benched twice, interesting to see.
Might have something to prove in this tournament by the end of the year.
I think he definitely will.
End of the season.
All right, let's move on to Group H. Here we have Spain. Cabo Verde is in this one, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. So let's start with you, Eric. What are you thinking for this one?
Spain licking their chops.
Yeah.
They're licking their chops because they get, they start off against Cabo Verde. They think that Cabo Verde is a minnow, and they are. I think they'll wipe the floor with them and slowly get momentum into this tournament. Saudi Arabia next, and then they finish the group against Uruguay, the only team that I believe will give them some trouble. And I know there's been some concerns about Uruguay under Bielsa and just the fractious approach that he has and not being the kind of coach that puts his arm around a player's shoulders. But I think Uruguay are a force to contend with. So Spain first, second Uruguay. Between Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, I'm sorry, Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia third, more experience, and then Cabo Verde in fourth place.
I'm going to go that way as well. You teed it up perfectly for me. Heath, what are you thinking in this one, Group H?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the only difference is, we've heard Eric a few times talk about national team versus club managers. They've got Hervé Renard at Saudi Arabia, who's coached every national team ever on the men's and women's side, and is just a pure national team manager. So I think he has a good idea and a clue on how to navigate these moments. Maybe not the most successful, but a unique manager in that sense. But I would go with Spain finishing first. Saudi Arabia maybe challenging for that third spot to actually get out of that group and into the knockout rounds, with Uruguay finishing second and then Cabo Verde in that fourth and final spot.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. To Heath's point, Saudi Arabia, the reason they beat Argentina was because Hervé Renard had all this time to work with them and create this plan. But they beat Argentina to open a World Cup, and then they end up not getting out of the group because there's a lack of quality, especially in the finishing final third for them. So I could see them manage this very well, and it is manageable. But I also think there's something special with this Cape Verde team, and I'm excited to see them play, and I'm excited to see what they can do. So for me, Spain, number one. I think they're World Cup favorites.
Obviously.
No question. I understand the issues with Bielsa, but I still think there's a Uruguay team with Valverde that's going to be one of the best at the tournament. And then I'm going to go Cape Verde and then Saudi Arabia to close things out.
All right, moving on to Group I. Here we have France, Senegal, Norway, and in that playoff team, it'll either be Bolivia, Suriname, or Iraq. So those are the three that we could potentially have, or that we could have in that. Heath, how about you kick it off for us here? What are you thinking about this Group I?
I would say this is probably the closest thing to a group of death based on the 3 teams. I think when you add the 4th team, there could be just some weakening of this group. But when you think about the way Senegal came in, undefeated in their World Cup qualifying campaign. Again, the groups within AFCON, not the strongest in terms of the way that they were split up, so you expected all those teams to nearly go perfect throughout. But Norway are a team that I'm not sure. They've been able to figure out how to play, as earlier as Goss mentioned, around Erling Haaland. He has become a star within this team, and we've seen historically with the Zlatans of the Swedens of the past of never being able to really build a squad that could service a star player at the world level. I think they're a team that's going to continue to drive around making sure that he's effective when he's in and around the box and the way that they score goals. So I think this one's a little bit of a toss-up. I think Norway could get out of this group in first or second. I'm going to place them behind France at 2, with Senegal 3rd, and then really tough to say who that 4th place team is, but I can confidently say that they'll probably finish 4th in this group. Very difficult group for whoever's qualifying in and out.
Yeah.
So one of the things I said when we came in is I always believe you should play the best team first, because I think teams take a little while to settle in, and France has been that in the past. So I like the way this set up for Senegal in that they start with France, the history, 2002, all of that, the rivalry, the intensity, and I think that's a nice opening game for them, and most likely it'll be in either New York or Boston. So it should be a pretty pro-Senegal crowd as much as you can get in for a small country in the U.S. So I think that France has a good chance, of course, of going out, and they're one of the favorites at the World Cup. But the way this fell for Norway, I think, is unfortunate. They're one of the darlings coming in, and I don't know that this is a great draw for them. So I'm going to go with France, Senegal, and Norway as the top 3, with whoever the playoff winner is as the 4th team.
I'm going that way as well.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was thinking that. I was thinking there's so much hype around Norway that I'm going to bet against them. But I'm not. Even though I'm looking forward to a Koulibaly, Haaland battle.
Yeah.
You know, Koulibaly, who used to be at Chelsea, now at Al Hilal. I think France possibly run away with this. They just have too much quality, and I do think that Norway ultimately, the difference makers like an Odegaard, like Haaland, are just going to be too much for Senegal defensively. So Senegal 3rd, and then I feel bad for whoever comes out of that intercontinental path too.
Yeah.
All right.
Fight for a World Cup spot and end up in
And
that
just
group.
get trounced.
All right, so France obviously trying to make it to their 3rd straight World Cup final, and they lost last year to Argentina. And Argentina's side, who let's move to Group J, because Argentina is the Pot A team in this one, along with Algeria and Jordan. And who else do we have in this? We have Austria in this Group J. So Argentina, reigning champions. You know how hard it is to win one World Cup. Now to try to do it back-to-back, with or without Messi, we still don't know, because he's still been very
coy.
Iffy, coy about whether he'll be
He's
there.
playing and starting.
What are you thinking for this Group J?
I'm really looking forward. As a neutral, this group is one that I'm really paying attention to. I'm very hot on Algeria. I just think they're tremendously talented and very often fall short of expectations. In 2010, or was it 2014? One of those two, 2014. They almost beat Germany in the round of 16 and went to extra time. It ended 2-1. Islam Slimani missed a couple of chances. So I think Argentina topped this, understandably. I think Algeria are going to be this dark horse for me for some reason. Austria 3rd, and Jordan. I'm sorry, Jordan. You know, a team that got to the final of the Asian Cup a couple of years ago, but they just don't have anything, including your friend. I'm sorry, Juan, Jaime. Jaime, hopefully you have a great tournament, but I just don't think they have any weapons to fight against these teams.
What are you thinking?
It was a dream draw for Argentina. Every one of the simulators I did, they came out in this group of death, and somehow they were able to manage through whatever happened, and that didn't end up happening. The fascinating part about this group to me is Algeria and Austria are both teams that are direct, and they are transitional. And Algeria, they were one of the best second-half teams in World Cup qualifying, so they struggled at the start, and then they come out of the gates in the second half flying, and we know what Austria want to do. But you take a look at this group, and most likely the way it nets out, there's a chance Austria ends up with 2 inside games, which we haven't talked a ton about, but they're going to be a high-pressing team. Playing inside at AT&T Stadium would be a really good bonus for them because they need to play at high intensity and high speed the whole game. Unquestioned, Argentina wins this group. Whatever Messi wants to pretend he's going to do or not do, he will be there and he will lead this team through it. But these are a couple teams that are trying to make history, and I think Algeria gets 2nd place and Austria gets 3rd place, and I've got Jordan in 4th. But I actually think this is a bad draw for Austria. I think they wanted to play giants and play against them, and now they have to kind of be the favorite.
Yeah.
Just I'm going to shout out 3 names at you. One is that Luka Zidane is most likely going to be, so the youngest son for Zinedine Zidane is going to be probably the starting goalkeeper for Algeria. But the 2 names that I want you to focus on, Amin Gouiri and Ilan Kabal. 2 extremely talented, skillful players who can really light the field on fire. Keep an eye out for those 2 guys.
Heath, your thoughts? Who do you think is going to go 1 through 4 in this one?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to this is that I think Austria do have a chance. They're one of the teams that we've talked about as a great European side that have suffered in the fact of how few teams get into the World Cup, right? At the Euro level, the way that they compete with the other teams within UEFA. They get the benefit now of the expanded World Cup. They're a team that I think have made the most of it. Arnautovic, 8 goals in 8 games. I think they do have the ability to score goals. They're going to be solid defensively. So they could compete with Algeria if Algeria, who I think is historically underperformed on the biggest stage, to win that second spot. And if not, I do think that there's some points for them of being one of the teams that gets into that round of 32. So that's the only other sort of team that I would focus on, that I think the way in which they've gotten here and falling short and kind of the expanded World Cup, I think, tees them up well in a group like this to be able to compete and get out of the group.
All right. Well, I'm going along with you guys. I say Argentina. Well, I think someone said this. Argentina. I'm going to do Austria. I think those will be the top 2
There we
here.
go, Claudia.
Algeria 3rd, Jordan 4th. So that's what I'm going with. All right. Let's move on to Group K. Eric, you're going to take this one first. Group K, we have Portugal, Uzbekistan, Colombia, and in that FIFA playoff spot, it'll be Jamaica, DR Congo, or New Caledonia. Now, you tell me, what's harder, that group or trying to read Gus's handwriting?
I thought we were muting Eric on this one. You guys ate up all the air on my U.S. men's national team. Let's mute Eric.
Actually,
sit on his thoughts.
Yeah, let's start with Heath, actually. I think it'd be better to start
No,
with
I don't
Heath.
want to. No, I need you to lead up. You're making me nervous now.
I'll say this. I think the way that the matches line up for Portugal are beneficial for them because they can get 2 wins out of the way early on. Unless it's DR Congo, watch out for them. Very strong team. But it also works against them. Because if you're Portugal starting against the Path 1 team, they're starting with Cristiano Ronaldo. And if that doesn't work out, he's still going to start against Uzbekistan. And by the time they play Colombia, Heath, it's going to be too late for Portugal. By that time, they're in 3rd place. They're in deep trouble. So I think Portugal first, Colombia first, DR Congo second, Portugal third, and Uzbekistan.
Wow.
You heard it here.
DR Congo, you said second?
If DR
Colombia
Congo,
third?
if DR Congo gets into this group, it's going to be between Portugal and DR Congo for second place.
Ooh, what are you thinking?
I get his point of view, which is I think Colombia are the best team in this group. They found
Whoa,
themselves.
I never said
That's
that.
not what he
That's
said.
not what
You
I
think
said.
that's what
I
came
said
out
what
of
they
his
were
mouth?
finished. They're not the better
His favorite
team.
team is Colombia. That's what I heard Eric say.
I actually have a Colombia jersey that I can
There
give
you
you if
go.
you want
Oh,
to wear.
yeah. Eric, you want to throw that on?
I've just been denaturalized.
I think, and also the way this sets up for Colombia as well. To play Uzbekistan in the first game, it'll be tough. They'll be defensive, but I think that's the good start for you. So I think this is a Colombia group that can go really far. What they did at 2024 Copa America here in the U.S., it's going to be repeatable for them. And Luis Diaz is performing as well as ever. James Rodriguez might be a free agent playing for a contract.
Yeah.
And they just have a real idea of how they're set up and how they should play. So I have Colombia in first. I've got Portugal in second. My guess is it is DR Congo because they got to buy into the next round of that playoff. So they will be third. And then Uzbekistan, who, let's be real, are kind of happy to be there under Fabio Cannavaro. They'll be fourth, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's exactly how mine is. Heath, is yours the same way, or do you have Portugal first?
I don't have Portugal first. Mine's the same way. It's just the CONMEBOL teams, 2 through, 6, all finished within a point of each other,
Yeah.
5 of them on 28 points. There's just so much quality there and the ability to compete. I think CONMEBOL, of all places in the world, preps the teams most for the World Cup just because of the quality of competition, the travel, all of those pieces. And so I like Colombia doing really well in this World Cup, so I have them top of the group as well. And then I have to give Portugal the second. I may be a little naive with that, but they're a team that can compete, and they have a lot of experienced players.
Did we create a narrative where Portugal's bad at soccer now?
No.
did.
They're going to finish third and then win the World Cup.
Yeah, well, that part I agree with.
World Cup,
Yeah.
No, they're going to draw 6 times, win in penalties, and then win the World Cup.
Hey, there's a trophy in the cabinet, Heath, after that
A
tournament.
win is a win. All right, let's move on to the last group, Group L, who to me feels like the group of death. It is England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. I think Panama is still overlooked by a lot of people who maybe don't watch Panama on a competition-to-competition basis and aren't really keeping up to date with them. But Heath, let's come to you first. What are you thinking about this Group L?
I think Panama finished bottom of this group. I don't think they have the power to compete in this. This is a very tough group. I mean, depending on the Croatia that we get, Ghana are strong enough, but Panama, for me, I love their story of qualifying for the World Cup. I love the nation, obviously played against them a couple of times, and I like what they stand for within CONCACAF. But at that next stage, there's just a lot of, I think the bar is really, like, the standard in this group is really, really high that Panama's going to have to meet on. Their ability to score goals, their ability to break down defenses, their ability to play in transition or even have to make the game in possession, I think could be a struggle. So I have probably this group finishing in the way that it's lined up now, with maybe a flip-flop of Ghana and Croatia, but I'm pretty confident in it going England, Croatia, Ghana, and then Panama at the end.
Damn, I teed it up so nicely. You went, forget what you said. They're last.
I want to be with them, but I can't. I just don't believe in them in this group. Another group, maybe. This group, no.
I agree. It's that the other teams in this group are so hard.
Yeah, it's a tough group. The opening day is going to be unbelievable with this one because you've got England, Croatia, and Ghana, Panama, which I think for all 4 of those teams really sets the tone for who they are and what the tournament ends up looking like. I agree with you about Panama, which is I think they're cohesive. I think they play well against teams that are better than them, and they know who they are. And so I think they'll throw a wrench in this whole thing. But I really like this Ghana team. I like what they have on the wings. I like their ability to create the game. Jordan Ayew continuing somehow to score goals after all of these years. So I'm going to end up here with England, Ghana, Croatia, and Panama. I am taking the risk in saying after 10 straight years of Croatia somehow overperforming in every tournament and Luka Modric having a 15th lung, that it finally falls after in 2026. And if they lose that opening game, now they're trying to chase a little bit in game 2, and now it sort of gets difficult for them.
What are you thinking?
I can't believe that I'm saying this, but I think that England might win this World Cup, and we'll never
American territory.
We'll never hear the end of this. I think that Tuchel, even though he rubs people the wrong way, has a very specific way he wants to play. England have traditionally had this issue where they have a lot of good players. Trying to fit them into a system has always been complicated. Think of Lampard and Steven Gerrard as like the epitome of that. He knows how he wants to play. He's not going to pick stars. He's going to pick the players that fit those roles. And I think that's what's going to be successful for them, especially how good they'll be defensively. I'm really high on this Ghana team. There's a tremendous amount of talent. There's also a lot of experience. You know, you look at guys like Mohamed Kudus. You got Semenyo, who's having a great season. And the name for me, Kamaldeen Suleimana, didn't do so well at Southampton, now at Atlanta, a great star.
It.
Croatia, I think, is an old team. I don't know if the new players have really asserted themselves yet after they finished third and are disappointing. And I'm sorry, Panama, not enough firepower. It's going to be a war of attrition with them. They're just going to try to out-battle you, but they don't have the quality in the attacking third.
I keep switching through because for all the good stuff that I said about Panama, I had them 4th and then I put them 3rd and now I have Ghana 4th.
Yeah.
I'm not giving my prediction because I can't predict it. And you know what? As the one who's hosting it right now,
the host,
I could do that. All right, let's wrap this up. Just everybody give me your winner. So I'm assuming you're going England.
Portugal.
To take it all. Win everything. To win everything.
It's gonna be Portugal. This is the year.
Are you serious?
That they win.
We're going to have to pay someone to go back through this transcript so that we can figure out what Eric said.
England?
I have no idea.
Look, I got to go with my heart. England, I think, for me, are the favorites just in terms of quality and depth and everything, but my heart says Portugal. They'll finish 3rd in their group. They'll move on, just like in the Euro, and they'll scrape through until the very end and beat the favorite England in the final.
All right. Goss, who's your favorite to win
Put your
it all?
money on that.
I came in saying Spain. I thought they got a really easy draw. I think it sets up everything with the way FIFA did it. If you win your group, you know that you can avoid some of the biggest teams going forward. So in my mind, this is a Spanish team that's ready to roll, and I still have them as favorites.
I'm going Spain as well. Heath?
Yeah, Goss cried on camera for Brazil and then shut them down with winning a World Cup. But I'm going to go with Spain. I like the way they are. I like the momentum that they have, even though we broke up that momentum in the Confederations Cup back in 2009.
Nice.
Before they, took the Euros and then the World Cup, but we had a little stopgap in between. But I will say, Claudia, Panama are going to get their first ever World Cup win in this World Cup, so that's a big win for everyone as well.
Let's do that.
Who beat
He's
Spain in
making
the
up
Nations
for-
League? Who beat Spain in the Nations League? Remind me of that. Portugal?
Was it
Portugal?
Belgium? Oh,
Portugal.
that
There
country.
we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Heath got the Confed Cup in, so we're good.
Yes.
We're contractually allowed to close now.
All right, Heath, thank you so much for joining us this whole time. Thank you, everybody who has been watching along for all these hours.
Can I give a big shout out to Ben
Yes,
Pagel
please.
and Keon, who crushed it, to Brandon as well, who put together all our videos, and a huge thank you to Eric, Dan, and the entire crew, and a huge thank you to you two for being here this whole time,
Thanks.
and
Thanks,
for
guys.
Eric
So happy to be here.
for swapping on Portugal 15 times to keep it entertaining.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Goss, you take it out.
Yeah, we have 1 million more pieces of content coming out about the World Cup. We've already got 16 podcasts about 16 different countries that have qualified. We've got 42 coming, social videos, newsletter, everything. So follow Kickback, First Touch on social media, anywhere on Blue Sky. And once again, thank you from all of us. And we've got it. We've got a World Cup. We are set for the 2026 World Cup here in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Bye, everyone.
Do this. Go Spain.
Bye, big soccer heads.